What is your best fricket? I've been a nice person my whole life. Now I'm going to do something bad story. Someone smashed the pumpkin I had on my front porch for Halloween. I was so mad that night I took an old person crap in it. I then put it on the same step my pumpkin was, then hid in my room and watched out the window. I don't know if it was the same kid that smashed my pumpkin that later tried to steal the purse, but the happiness I took from that moment of a kid reaching his hand in the purse while he was walking away to steal the money more than made up for the anger of a smashed pumpkin. I can't possibly imagine the amount of anger that led to the thought process of I'm so mad I'm gonna crap in this purse. A friend of mine back in high school got so angry at an old lady in his neighborhood who kept telling him not to ride his bike in the street that he went into her carport one night, took a dump on her windshield, and smeared it all over the glass. He was so proud of himself, he couldn't understand why we just stared at him dumbfounded when he told us. I followed the rules 100% that were laid out by my parents until I hit 18 and wanted to hang out with a group of friends. Thing is, there needs to be adult supervision at all times when I go over to a friend's house. I got fed up. Some of these people I've known for 4 years and went anyway, even though the hosting party's parents were not home. And nothing bad happened. All we did was play Dungeons and Dragons for 5 hours. My parents aren't bad or anything. They love, support, and are a tad overprotective with me. I'm grateful every day of them, and I'm fortunate of having awesome parents like them. A year later, they gave me their permission to go to friends' houses without an adult present. Probably didn't hurt that I carry pepper spray when I go out, and I have cut off friends for underage drinking, so they trust me to be a good judge in someone's character. I don't fault them for the rule or being worried. If it were my kid, I'd be concerned too who they were hanging out with. This was the one instance I was the rebellious teenager. If you were 18 you were the adult supervision. Shrieks an overbearing parent. After 2 years of working somewhere and getting treated like crap, I didn't get a permanent contract and called in sick on my last day because I hated that job. I had only called in sick once before for one day. After that they still said I had to come to work, so I just said sure I'll come and just didn't show up. That day off felt really good. I worked somewhere and got promoted, so I know I wasn't bad at my job for 5 years and was treated increasingly badly by other management, especially after I reported 2 of them for abusing staff members and hours told them I'd made the report. I booked 2 weeks holiday, drove down to the coast, and called the store manager to say I was handing in my notice. She cried and begged me not to leave her with no lower management. Everyone else had already walked. Spent my notice on holiday and that was the best holiday of my life. This is amazing, but didn't you need to put them on your resume / use them as a reference later? I was a teen and found $1,000 in an ATM. This was one of those ATMs that had a place where the money would drop to. This was the early 90s. I don't think they just drop it anymore, they all retract back into the machine if you don't take it. But during this time, that technology didn't exist. I went to the bank to return the money. I was sick of this bank. I was an American expat in Singapore who needed a bank account. Long boring story, but wanted to explain why a teen hated a bank. Anyway, I had to always wait in line, never enough tellers, people were pretty rude, etc. This bank sucked. After waiting for 15 minutes, with one teller and the line still 10 deep, I said to myself, frick it, I came to return this money. I tried to be honest, but they are making it impossible for me. I went and bought a stereo. It was alright. One time I went to an ATM to get money out and found a deposit envelope half out of the machine. Figured the machine had decided to reject it sometime after the person who had deposited it had left. I wrote a note on the envelope and posted it under the bank door. Some weeks later I deposited some cash in that same machine. I was a little hesitant, but didn't want the inconvenience of going to the bank during business hours. I made sure the envelope was accepted, waited a bit to ensure it didn't get ejected, then left. After a few days the deposit still hadn't shown up in my account. I took time out from work and went to the branch to complain. They said, no problem, this machine has done this before. that told me how someone had left an ejected envelope under their door with a note on it and then immediately credited my account with my missing deposit. Paid it forward to myself. Comma. I used to work in retail. One night a customer asked me when a jacket would be discounted. I told her that I couldn't say for sure because we weren't told when certain items would be reduced in price. She called me a dumb bitch and an idiot and asked me to put it on hold for 24 hours in case it got discounted overnight. I think it's also worth noting that she claimed to be an Instagram influencer with over 5,000 followers and she said she'd lose deals if she didn't get the jacket. Also, she was racist toward the store security guard, who happens to be one of the kindest people I've ever met. I put the jacket aside for her, but not before doing a system search and finding out that there were only 3 left in this size in the entire country, as you may have guessed from my username in live in New Zealand, so not a particularly big country. Fast forward 24 hours and she hasn't come to pick up the jacket. I was feeling extra petty and had had a particularly bad day the day before, so exactly 24 hours after I put it aside for her I decided to buy it. I browsed around the store for a while before going to pay, and of course Karen was up there at the checkouts. If she had been ranting at my colleague about the jacket I would have given it to her to save another from the wrath of Karen, but she was going on about the car park and appeared to have forgotten about the jacket. Once I got to the car I went online and bought the other jacket before driving to the other side of town and buying the third and last one in the country. It was near the end of the season, so chances are there weren't going to be any more. The whole thing cost more money than I would liked, but I stopped a Karen from getting her way for once, so I don't regret it. You literally bought out an entire country's supply of a specific jacket just to deny it to an asshole who wanted it. That's amazing. Legend this one. I got bullied a lot in high school, in particular my maths class, because I'm simply weak with numbers, so I was in the lowest capability class with mostly kids who just didn't want to try because it wasn't cool. Whenever we used calculators, our saint of a teacher would get a huge box of them out and we'd go up to the front and grab one. We were supposed to put them back at the end as we were leaving, but most of them just gave their calculators to me to put back as opposed to taking 3 extra steps to do it. I've just finished doing my unofficial job as keeper of calculators, and I'm grabbing my bag to leave. This guy comes back in and says, "Forgot this, put it back up," handing me his calculator. No please. Not even 5 seconds of eye contact. Just the order and assumption. Something in me broke, and I picked it up and heaved it at the guy's head. It hits mid-chest. This was coupled with a firm and simple no in a raised voice. I then realized what I've done and sheepishly turned to my saint of a teacher. This man has watched this class bully me for a long time now. Watched me not respond to it. Let me sit in the back with headphones in as long as the work's done, so I can try and improve my damn grade in peace. This angel of a teacher looks at me and in one fluid motion winks and tilts his head at the door telling me to get gone before crap erupts. He knows I don't throw things at people and probably never would again. I never did. I kept putting the calculators away at the end though. We need more teacher like him. Agreed. He got a bit of crap off those same kids for having dandruff as well, so I think we just silently identified with each other on the whole thing. Guy was awesome. Let me use his classroom as a idiot when I was struggling to deal with bullying during breaks and seriously worked his ass off to help me raise my grade. I have dyscalculia, numeric dyslexia, and he got me up to a C. Showed me that, even though I struggled with things other people would find incredibly simple, there was ways for me to do it differently. Mr. P, if you happen to read this, I'm still grateful to you. Thanks for being freaking awesome. Middle school. New kid named Kyle was already bugging everyone. Oh, and some background. He was from Kentucky and he gotten expelled from 5 schools. He was known for being really rude, especially to the girls/women. He was saying stuff like women should be in the kitchen and all that. But that wasn't it. He would bully everyone, think he was all the crap, etc. The day after he arrived he kept looking at my test for answers. He literally was crazy. He was whispering, "I know you're covering it. I'm just trying to torture you." I don't know what he had said but I snapped. I turned and slapped him on the face. It's a bit of a blur, but here's what I recall. Was there a lot of yelling and cussing? You annoying piece of crap. No one here cares about you. You are a worthless annoying brat who should go back to your little ass farm in Kentucky. He shut up, and I got suspended. However, after I told my dad, he wasn't mad. He was proud. He said he didn't like my language and seemed pretty mad, but said that he was glad I stood up for myself. Kinda mixed messages. At least I got him to shut up for the rest of the year and was known as a cool kid for a week. That's a dad's way of saying frick yeah, awesome without condoning the behavior. It's a fine line between being overjoyed that your kid did something badass and reinforcing future potentially bad behavior. It's a win. I still remember this. When I was in 8th grade, the class asshole tried to beat me up. I fought back. He cried a lot. I had to go to detention on Saturday, and my dad took me out for ice cream afterwards. Perfect attendance from kindergarten all the way to senior year in high school, until a girl asked me to ditch 1 hour with her. Suffice to say, that cost me an award. As a teacher, I hate those awards. All it means is your parents sent you to school when you were sick, and you got everyone else sick. Because there is not a kid alive who won't get sick at all for 12 years. I got the award. But, I was extremely lucky. I only ever had a bad sickness one time, and it was in the 4th grade. I woke up okay, went to school, then after about an hour I had to call home. I was there during attendance, so it counted. It was right before a break as well, so I had time to get better. After that, I had never been sick again, or at least nothing symptomatic. Even to this day I have never even gotten a slight cold, and I'm starting to feel like something may be wrong. I'm doing it right now. I'm sort of the linchpin in my family. My older sisters frequently fight each other. My parents don't get along, but I try to hold things together. I help my sister with her mental health, the other one with money, and even though we all live near each other, I'm the only one that visits my parents. I take care of my grandma every day, help anyone that asks, and do so frequently, cook for people constantly, and I'm always the first one back down to avoid a fight. I'm also gay. My dad has been struggling with this for a while, and being his usual craphead self about it to me. I'll let it go. For almost 4 years I let him have wiggle room to work things out, and it's clear now he's made no effort at all. Then came Christmas. My aunt, who was hosting, insisted I bring my boyfriend, who everyone knows and loves already, except, of course, my dad. He had not even met him. We were all in the same house for a while before I had some liquid courage and went to my dad and asked, "Do you want me to introduce you?" With the most petulant facial expression I've ever seen, he practically yelled no and turned away from me and started talking to my very uncomfortable uncle. I was embarrassed, enraged, and so very disappointed. Burn it down. I told everyone in the family and they all turned on him. I stopped taking to my dad. It's been 6 months. My sisters are furious at my mom for defending him. Every text he's sent me, I've ripped him a new one, and they've basically cut him out as well. My mom is mad at me for detonating this bomb, but I don't care. I'm tired of ripping parts out of myself to keep this rusted old junker of a family running. No one does anything for me ever, so I'm doing something for me. Sort yourselves out, or frick off. Life's too short to saddle myself with everyone else's bullcrap. Yes. Good on you. Thanks, mate. Virtual chest bump. My sister is kind of evil, and one day she was really being abusive to our mom. Screaming and yelling and insulting our mother to the point of lunacy. Mom began to tear up a bit, and I didn't really like that. Then my sister says, "Oh wow, you're crying?" I had a cup of coffee in my hand, and I instinctively poured it over her head. Suddenly, I was the bad guy, which was fine, because I don't really care what someone says while they're covered in coffee anyways. Waste of good coffee. I'd say a pretty good use of coffee. I Wilder chugged the coffee and smashed it over her head. A few years ago I took a day trip to the beach with a bunch of people. We got to the beach at 9 AM and stayed until 4. At this particular beach there is a beach restaurant and bar that has a DJ and dance floor. As we were packing up I noticed the couple we drove up was still at the bar. I asked my so to go get them, and I'd head to the car to start cooling it off, thinking it would be nice for everyone else to get into a cool car rather than a boiling one. When they got to the car the girlfriend was wasted and being a bitch. For 15 minutes she complained how we ditched them at the beach and how rude we were, and just on and on while I'm driving them home. Now I'm a generally laid back person, but I couldn't believe how selfish and entitled she was being, and it was directed at me. So I lost it on her and basically screamed that if I had ditched them at the beach they would still be there, not in my car, and if she wanted to continue to be a bitch she and her boyfriend could get out and take an Uber home. She shut up and didn't say another word the remainder of the drive. Her boyfriend thanked me for the ride and apologized when I dropped them off. She apologized the next day as well. But it gets brought up now and then because it was so out of character for me to snap like that. A lot of people would have gotten upset at being called out like that. The fact that they both apologized shows they are some pretty solid people. I mean, yeah, but also no. I hope I could expect that from any of my friends. It's a kind of low bar. /shrug emoticon /. Mum's doctor called me when he couldn't reach her. She had appendicitis and needed to go to hospital. It ended up being gangrenous and she had 2 infections. I drove like those assholes in BMWs to get to her house where she was sleeping and not looking great. I wasn't proud of it. It's illegal, but I would do it again. Just as a note, I didn't do anything dangerous. I sped in open lanes and used bus lanes, overtook etc. Nothing to risk anyone else or myself. Wasn't Tokyo Drift or something. This gets a pass though. That's your mama. Divorced parents. They did the usual your mom/dad is the bad one and a liar thing. I was about 15, 16, and they both sent me to court to testify against one another. They both, though I was on their side. Jokes on them. I told the judge they both sucked. My dad told me after that I was not a part of the family anymore, so I said frick you and told the judge to remove my weekends with him. 22 years old now, he is trying to make up for it. Not sure I can go back, but let's see. I was a super quiet kid BTW. Not a part of the family. They were the ones that got divorced. The only remaining member of the family, in fact. I absolutely hate the grocery store next to my current workplace. They are just slow and take forever for anything. I'm a paramedic, and one day during the morning was rather busy, so we only got some sandwiches and something to drink from said grocery store because me and my coworker thought dispatch would send us out any minute. When I got to the checkout I was already fed up with them because they needed 15 minutes for our 2 sandwiches and there were about 10 customers on one single checkout, and as regular they did not open a second one. Additionally, the lady that doesn't know how to handle discounts, coupons or refunds is sitting there. So I shot my coworker a text message, who sat in the ambulance, if he could let my pager go off from the ambulance. So it seems that we were busy. Pager went off. I asked to skip the line, paid and went on my way. We didn't have another transport or emergency for the next 2 hours. For a second there I misread this and thought holy crap dude. So anyway I started blasting